Hello, everybody. I'm Paul Beckwith, and about a week ago, I was invited to give a talk to the Canadian Association of the Club of Rome, or KCOR, and it was because of a cancellation. So I had basically a day to prepare, so I immediately thought of this topic I thought I should talk about. Of course, the Chinese AI had just come out on that very day when I was invited to give the talk, talking about DeepSeek, of course, the free AI from China. And I thought, well, this is a perfect timing for a topic, so I decided on a title, using AI to fight climate change propaganda, to fight climate change, propaganda, fake news, and election tampering. So the upsides and the downsides of the AI. And I gave the talk on Chinese New Year, which was Wednesday, January 29th. And I said that China's gift to the world on the Chinese New Year was DeepSeek, and their more longer-term gift to the world is their huge development of clean technology, clean energy technology, most notably solar power, because over 90% of the solar chips are the photovoltaic cells, the 6-inch wafer chips are not chips, but solar photovoltaic technology, which goes into all of the solar panels. About 90% of them are from China. So this is a very personal talk, which you probably are just hearing about now. So I thought I should do this video to let people know. I thought of just refilming it on my channel, but there's no point, right? I mean, I gave a half-hour talk to the Canadian Club of Rome, and there was 60 minutes of questions. So the video is an hour and a half long, with me just talking for the first 30 minutes. And I talked about my sort of background, the various jobs that I had that are connected to AI, of course, without me knowing at the time. So I'll just give you a very sort of elevator pitch, quick summary, maybe a few minutes, on some of the things I talked about. And if you want to see the full details, go and play the video, which is about half-hour long. So in the late 1990s, I worked for ATI Technologies in Markham. The company did computer graphics chips and the boards, which slotted into the personal computers to drive an increase in the speed, memory capacity, and costs of graphics processors, or so-called GPUs, graphical processing units. So the driving factor was gamers, right? Better games, faster, bigger screens, higher pixel count resolution. So, often at times, ATI was it seemed like a trading floor. We had stock frenzies, prices going up absurdly, and everybody was trading the stocks of all different companies. So, at the time, ATI was probably the best, had the best products for these graphical processing units. But then at that point, NVIDIA, you may have heard of them, was a close second to ATI. And then there was disruption, which often you only see in the rearview mirror. NVIDIA came out with the GeForce, which had an onboard chip to do the graphics rendering of very high resolution screens for the gaming industry, which I said was driving it. And there was a breakthrough in the speed of the processing and the ability to render graphics, because the GPU from NVIDIA, called the GeForce, had an onboard processor dedicated to rendering the video, so it didn't have to make all these repeated calls to the CPU, the Intel chip or the AMD chip at the heart of the computer, the personal computer. So it revolutionized the graphics industry. So that's part one. I left ATI so I was there from 1996 to 2000, and I was a software tester. was my primary role, testing the combination of the graphics hardware from the ATI chips and graphics processors and the software that ran them. I left in 2000 to move to Ottawa to JDS Uniphase. I got married again, and I was the product line manager for optical switches at JDS. Now, Nortel was huge in Ottawa. JDS Uniphase was huge. This optical switch was a perfect mesh with my laser physics background. And, previously I'd done optics for Rockwell International in California in 1988 to 1990. So my background was a lot in lasers and fiber optics and so on. So I worked on these fiber optic communication systems. Nortel, of course, was the giant, and like I said, JDS was huge. And so basically we had different nodes of electronics that were connected by high speed, by optical fiber, light traveling through the fiber, carrying signals for the telecommunications at the speed of light in the fiber. And the light would be transferred at the nodes to electrical, some wavelengths pulled off, and then it was transmitted from lasers, modulated lasers, back into the fiber, then transporting over to the next node and so on. And the push then at the time was to replace that transition from light to mechanical, electrical, and then back to light, basically light to electrical, back to light, and so on. Keep it all in light, do all optical switching, pull out the wavelengths at the node that you need to get the data from, and just send the others on their way. So it was much, much faster. And of course, optical fiber is a big component of the best AI systems now. So let's combine the graphical processing units with the fiber optics. And basically, this is how we simulate the human brain with these components. So the synapses, the neurons in the brain, rather, the little neurons in the brain, and there's millions of them, are actually represented by the graphical processing units that NVIDIA supplies to the world now. NVIDIA has exploded. It's too bad ATI could have done this just as easily as NVIDIA, but they didn't. So the nodes are the synapses of the neural networks which are behind AI, are the graphical processing units from NVIDIA. And the connections between the graphical processing units are the optical fiber. So that's basically the simulation of the human brain. Of course, NVIDIA stock's gone to the roof, and because they're supplying these to the world, there is a so the GPU is basically the neurons simulating the neurons in the brain, and the fiber optic cables are the connections, the synapses simulating the synapses, the connections between the different nodes or neurons. And basically, we're going to rooms full of these GPUs connected by fiber. So each GPU is connected to many, many fibers, to many, many other GPUs by fiber. And then you scrape the web, get all the information, feed it to the thing, and see what it spits out at the end. So the NVIDIA, they have a number of different GPUs, and the latest, highest technology, fastest, best, are things like the NVIDIA DGX GH200 optical switch. Okay, so all of the technologies I was working on in previous jobs are now part of the guts of AI, but of course AI wasn't around when I was doing that work. In the human brain, one neuron connects to something like 7,000 to 15,000 other neurons, right? In denser parts of the brain, it's 15,000. In other parts of the brain, it's only 7,000. We're nowhere near that with our neural networks. Like the GPU, connects to maybe, 200 to 300 other nodes. and there's rooms full of them. We're nowhere near the number of nodes that are, that we have in the human brain, but we're more and more money is being spent on that. Now, okay, so that's the synthesis of those things. And now, what is the ultimate goal is to come up with something called the AGI, or artificial general intelligence. Think of having 100 Einsteins or 1,000 Einsteins on your desktop, being able to answer all your questions and do all your work. I mean, that's kind of a goal. And so how do we get to this goal? Well, how do you advance the capacity? You get better and faster GPUs, graphical processing units. That's what NVIDIA is doing. You get more of them. You get better optical switching of the GPUs. You get better fiber links, maybe less loss, more wavelength multiplexing down an individual fiber. You get more connections between the different nodes. You get better training, better software, and this is billions of dollars is going into these things. I mean, and the AIs are proliferating. Microsoft has their AI, Twitter/X has Grob, OpenAI, of course, ChatGPT-4. I really like Perplexity.ai. And of course, the new kid on the block is DeepSeek. And what is so amazing about DeepSeek is that there's chip embargoes and high-tech embargoes against China. So China's AI has NVIDIA chips and fiber technologies, etc., but they're not the latest and cutting edge. They're much, much older versions, and the neural networks are much smaller. But there's a Chinese company actually called DeepSeek, which it was founded in 2023. Basically, about a year and a half ago, it was founded. And then they came out with their AI with the same name as the company, DeepSeek, and purportedly only something like $5.6 million budget. And, I think of a bunch of kids in a garage, and they basically disrupted the disruptors and caused the stock markets to crash. The high-tech companies. They're using old GPUs that are slow and crappy and old connections compared to the state of the art. It was Biden who put export restrictions on the GPUs, plus other AI tech, to prevent China from doing what they did. So how did China do this? The Chinese company, well, they obviously have better algorithms and better software, and they've made it free and open source, and they show the thought processes. And if you haven't used it yet, download it and try it. Okay, so that's the disruptive nature. Now, it's a very simple interface, this AI. You can ask it questions. It answers in very plain English language, has lots of references, links, and shows you the thought processes. Now, it's very, very easy to use. So the best example I give is my friend Meta Spencer, who I just posted a video on because I was co-host with her, interviewing Nick Breeze in her project to save the world. She was a funny story about Meta. She might listen and shake her head that I'm telling you this story, but she did her programs live on Zoom and then live fed them over YouTube, and she was Zoom bombed. So some young guys decided to show their genitals on her program, and it basically, YouTube immediately shut down her site. She was down for 2 months and panicked, couldn't do programs. She got a friend to talk to somebody at the CBC. She got on the Canadian Broadcasting System, Canada's national broadcaster, to complain. YouTube reinstated her channel. Then she decided she needed a backup, so she also posts on Substack. She doesn't do live feeds anymore. So basically, she takes this software called Otter, which generates a transcript of the videos, and now I think YouTube automatically generates that. She takes the transcript and puts it into ChatGPT-4, which is the open AI, AI artificial intelligence baby, and she tells it to generate a 1,000-word summary of the transcript, and then she posts the essay and sends it to all her people. And Meta Spencer was born in 1931. She's 93 years old. She'll be 94 this year. So it's pretty amazing. So AI is used more and more in all these different applications, like for running climate models, testing new technology, generating new products, lowering carbon footprints, summarizing new technology to cool the planet, like solar radiation management, new technology to capture carbon and other greenhouse gases, CDR. So it's being used to advance all of these physical things. It's also very important on the social science side. AI can recognize propaganda. It can remove it from your feed before you even see it, or it can at least flag it with messages saying it's propaganda. It can basically be used in good ways to provide better information on social media and reduce misinformation and propaganda, or it can be used in bad, evil ways to make it worse. So that's where we're at right now. Right now, democracy is under threat around the world. Social media is having a huge impact, and we're having issues. So this is where we're at. Also, we know that our brains are changing from these damn phones that we use and the screens that we have in our face. They're changing our brains. Just to give you an example, 5-year-old kids that are starting preschool, pre-kindergarten, etc., they've lost some manual dexterity. They have more trouble tying their shoelaces, running zippers up and down, even operating a pair of scissors. They have more trouble doing it. Teachers that have noticed. So why? Is it because the parents are not teaching them things because they're distracted because they're on their screens? Or is it because the kids are given screens as surrogate babysitters to keep them busy, and they're used to scrolling and tapping screens and losing manual dexterity? I don't know which it is, but it's a very I think it's a very dangerous situation. We're basically there's a great article in the Atlantic February edition on how screens are changing us, making many people much more lonely than they would be before, having much less human contact with other people. I mean, there's good and bad of course, the social media. You can look at different categories of our life. Like we have our personal life, family, friends. This is like, consider this as a circle, a tight circle. And then expand the circle a lot, and we go into the world of the sites that we're in, the tribes, echo chambers, etc. Between those two things, there's a concentric ring, which is basically, call it community. It's work friends, coffee shop friends. It's people that we exchange ideas with, right? You can tolerate other opinions, and this is where democracy lies, and this ring of democracy is shrinking. People are having less empathy for other people. There's less give and take. There's more conflict and stuff, which is being driven by social media. So democracy is on its way out. It's really fading. And the Atlantic article from February 2025 is called The Antisocial Century, and it's by Derek Thompson. So I highly recommend it. When you lose empathy for other people, you get the wars, you get the genocides, things like that. As far as election tampering, we know that this is happening, and Canada feels really under threat right now from both the tariff stuff and also various elections and so on. And we're seeing elections being influenced from afar by other places. So I think one of the things is that one side is too nice, the other side is ruthless. AI used properly can preserve, what we have. It can preserve order and sense, but used improperly, it can be utilized as a weapon against individuals, against society, against democracy. So there was a foreign interference inquiry in Canada. The Quebec Court of Appeal Justice Marie-Josée Hague said, "It is no exaggeration to say that at this juncture, information manipulation, whether foreign or not, poses the single biggest risk to our democracy. It is an existential threat." And this report just came out in Canada about a week ago. So anyway, I've covered a lot of the different aspects of what I talked about. So I had very little time to put together this talk, but I went on basically my own sort of background and history and some of the different components of AI. So the 30-minute version is here on YouTube. I'll put the link in the description. And KCOR, this is the homepage for Canadian Association for the Club of Rome, kcor.com. Club of Rome famously came up with the report, The Limits to Growth, many years ago. And it's a non-governmental organization dedicated to intelligent debate and action on global issues. And this is my talk here. There's a link to it, but I also give you the link for YouTube, and you can have a look through the different topics. And if I go to the YouTube for the Canadian Association for the Club of Rome, my talk is right here. I just attended this talk by Dr. William Rees yesterday about our obsolescent brains, the climate, economics, and overshoot. There's loads of different talks on all different aspects. Okay, so if you're not familiar with this group, please have a look at it. And of course, this is my talk here. And interestingly enough, that if you look at the description of the video, people that you mention within the video appear here. So there's Nick Breeze, Bill Gates, I guess, was talked about. I guess I talked about him a bit. And this is hilarious. Isaac Newton is here because I guess I mentioned my dog Newton in the talk, and it says, hey, he's talking about Isaac Newton. So this should be a picture of my dog Newton, not the Sir Isaac Newton. So that's kind of interesting. Anyway, highly recommend, so this is an hour and 31 minutes, the session. So I spoke for the first 30 minutes, and then I fielded questions from the Club of Rome people for an hour, which is kind of interesting because, there were loads and loads of questions. We could have easily gone for another hour. So if you want to know about AI and some of the influences on society, some of the development of AI, etc., then this is the video to watch. So thanks for listening. Please consider going to my website, paulbeckwith.net, and donating to PayPal to support my research and videos. And I do an awful lot of work outside this channel, but I think what I'll do going forward is having very short videos or summaries of what I've done outside of this channel, so people that follow me on the channel can go and see some of the other stuff that I have done with other groups. So thanks again, and bye for now.